And when you don't respect me, I'm gonna spank you. I don't give a how rich you got on the block. I'm your big brother. I will break your big ass down.
That was Tupac making it crystal clear how he felt about Biggie. No respect, no peace. What started as a simple rivalry quickly spiraled into something far darker, with both rap icons caught in a web of violence and betrayal. But how deadly was their beef really? Let me break it down for you. From brothers to enemies. Yo, when we talk about hip-hop history, ain't no story hit harder than what went down between Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace. The streets knew him as the notorious B.I. or Biggie Smalls. What started in '93 as real love between two of rap's most gifted soldiers turned into straight venom in just 3 short years. A deadly beef that would body both of them and forever change the whole damn culture. This wasn't just some rap battle, fam. This was a full-blown war that pulled in record labels, gang sets, dirty cops, and a whole industry that got rich off the chaos, while two young black kings moved toward their doom. The origin story of their friendship reads like something out of a movie B. Back in 1993, during the filming of John Singleton's Poetic Justice, Tupac Shakur was already that dude. At 22 years old, fresh off his breakout role in Juice and riding high from his album Strictly for My Nigga, Pac spotted this young, hungry cat from Brooklyn, who was about to change the whole game. Biggie Smalls, just 21 and still unsigned, was grinding out demos from his mom's phone in Bed-Stuy trying to get on. When Tupac heard him spit at Janet Jackson's hotel suite, weaving vivid tales of crack vials and corner dreams with that Brooklyn flow, he was immediately blown away. He was my little homie, Pac later reflected in the 1995 Vibe interview, praising Biggie's flow as the illest I ever heard. Their bond got deeper through them New York nights. Tupac, navigating his dual life as actor, activist, and rising MC, put Biggie onto Interscope sessions and brought him through to parties at the legendary Tunnel nightclub. Biggie gave Pac his props, recounting in a 1994 The Source feature how Tupac offered to manage him, saying, "Pac was like family. He saw the hunger in me." They even laid down some unreleased tracks together with an early 1993 joint called Same Song featuring Biggie on hooks over Tupac's beat, mixing that West Coast gunk with East Coast grit. Their chemistry peaked on October 24, 1993 at Madison Square Garden's Coca-Cola Pop Music Jam, where they traded bars in a freestyle cypher that had the whole garden going crazy as they passed the mic like OGs schooling the young cats. But underneath all that brotherhood, cracks were already starting to show. You feel me? Pac's crew was warning him about certain cats in his circle. Especially this dude, Haitian Jack Jacku Anon, a Queens promoter with alleged mob connections that Tupac got cool with during Above the Rim shoots in '93. Biggie, looking out for his mans, cautioned him, "Stay away from that dude. He's trouble." According to a 2019 biography timeline, these street politics whispers hinted at the volatility beneath their friendship, as both dudes navigated hip-hop's underbelly where fame brought snakes and loyalty could get bought or broken in a heartbeat. Then came the night that flipped everything upside down. November 30th, 1994 at Quad Recording Studios in Times Square, a betrayal so raw it rewired Pac's whole mindset and sparked the beef that would consume them both. Tupac rolled up around 10 p.m. to drop a verse on Lil Sean's Come With It, produced by Jiv Posey. Biggie and Puffy were upstairs laying tracks for Junior Mafia's Conspiracy. What should have been just homies in the same building, Pac stepped in that lobby fresh as hell in a white trench coat dripping in $40,000 worth of jewelry that Suge Knight had blessed him with. Rolling with Haitian Jack and this cat Freddie Moore. At 10:20 p.m., 3 dudes in army fatigues, 2 strapped with .45s, ran down on them in the elevator. They stripped Tupac of his chain, watch, and rings before letting off 5 shots, 2 grazing his dome, 2 hitting his groin, 1 piercing his hand. Pac stumbled to the street, collapsed as Cuddy Kawasa rushed him to Bellevue Hospital. Meanwhile, upstairs, Biggie and Puffy, hearing the commotion, came down after the shooting went down. And according to what Pac said later, they were laughing in the middle of all that chaos, which he took as straight disrespect or worse, proof they set him up. Released after 6 days with his head wounds miraculously missing his brain, Tupac fell into a paranoia that would never lift. In that raw February 1995 Vibe cover story titled Ready to Live penned from Rikers Island, he put Biggie and Puffy on blast. "I was in the studio with them all day. They knew." He claimed seeing them giggling after the shooting, suggesting the whole setup was connected to his lawsuit against Agnet filed days before over a sexual assault case. Biggie denied it hard in the same issue, "That's my man. Why would I do that?" Puffy echoed the denial, even visiting Pac in jail with flowers and everything, but the damage was done. Fam Tupac felt betrayed twice over, first by Jack, who he blamed for orchestrating the hit, then by his East Coast family, who he believed had set him up to get robbed or bodied. The Quad Studios incident transformed Tupac from a revolutionary poet into a cat consumed by vengeance and survival mode. When he spoke about his vision for the future and his determination to change the world despite all the snakes around him, Pac's words carried both hope and the weight of everything he'd been through on these streets. His February 28, 1995 sexual abuse conviction stemming from a November 1993 Hotel Manhattan situation got him hit with 1.5 to 4.5 years, killing his momentum at the worst possible time.
Where do you see yourself in
If God gives me breath for 20 more years, I see myself changing the world. Because my thought patterns are so opposite of what's the norm. So I'll have to change the world, or I'll have to change by the world.
His February 28, 1995 sexual abuse conviction stemming from a November 1993 Hotel Manhattan situation got him hit with 1.5 to 4.5 years, killing his momentum at the worst possible time. Locked down at Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York, he penned me against the world from a cell, channeling all that betrayal into joints like Dear Mama and so many tears. But nothing cut deeper than when Biggie dropped Who Shot Ya in February 1995, a brash track about a shooting survivor that hit Pac like salt in an open wound. Though the joint was recorded pre-quad for Ready to Die and Biggie insisted it was about somebody else, Tupac, hearing it on the radio from his cell, was heated beyond measure. "That's my life right there," he told Vibe, taking the hook, "Who Shot Ya?" Separate the weak from the obsolete, as Biggie clowning him over almost getting killed. The timing was foul as hell, and whether Big meant it or not, that track became the spark that lit the whole inferno. The whole landscape shifted when on October 12, 1995, Marion Suge Knight bailed Tupac out of prison for $1.4 million, personally delivered by a private jet like some mob boss movie. In exchange, Pac signed a 3-album deal with Death Row Records worth $3.5 million. This major move aligned him with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's G-Funk empire on the West Coast. But more importantly, it cut him off from Bad Boy's East Coast polish and cemented his ties with the mob Piru Bloods through Suge's connections. In his first Death Row interview on MTV's Yo! Raps in October 1995, Tupac declared straight war. The East Coast turned its back. Now it's West Side till I die, throwing shade at Biggie for being soft and not sliding on his shooters. Though Tupac would later characterize their conflict as just a difference of opinion between brothers, his words revealed a deeper pain, the hurt of feeling disrespected by someone he'd mentored and loved like fam. Interview.
It was never a beef. It's only a difference in opinion. That's like me being mad at my little brother because he getting cash now. I'm not mad at that. I'm just mad at my little brother when you don't respect me. And when you don't respect me, I'm going to spank your ass. I don't give a how rich you got on the block. I'm your big brother. I will break your big ass.
The media, smelling blood in the water, amplified every shot and subliminal. At the August 3, 1995 Source Awards in New York's Paramount Theater, Suge Knight's acceptance speech for Best Rap Album turned into straight coastal provocation. Y'all don't do it right. And another thing, any artists out there with Bad Boy on your back, come to death row. We don't strong-arm nobody. The crowd booed as the battle lines got drawn. Puffy, sitting ringside, was tight, later telling Rolling Stone in 1997 it was war from there. But Pac's beef ran deeper than what the media could capture. His frustration wasn't just about getting shot. It was about the street code being violated, about New York rappers and their peoples being right there when he almost got killed, yet offering no intel, no justice, no solidarity whatsoever. His anger at this betrayal of the code would fuel everything that came next. Damn.
When half of New York, half of the major New York rappers, or they managers, or they agents, or they somebody was there when I got shot. And nobody couldn't give me no information. Just study that. That's all I ask. If you're going to act like you a gangster or a G or the king of New York, I'm going to expect that. And when you don't come through, then I'm going to crush your empire. And that's what it's time for.
Street violence followed the verbal warfare. On August 24, 1995, Death Row executive Big Jake Robles got smoked in Atlanta outside Jermaine Dupri's So Def party, caught 17 shots in a drive-by that Suge blamed on Puffy's camp. No arrests, but the bodies stacking up hardened the lines between coasts and crews. What started as personal beef between two homies was now full-scale war involving record labels, gang sets, and a whole industry profiting from the spectacle. While two brilliant artists moved toward their tragic ends, the transformation was complete, brothers had become straight enemies, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape hip-hop forever and leave two legends dead before they hit 26. The war escalates. By late 95, the beef between Tupac and Biggie had grown from personal drama into a full-blown coastal war, complete with diss tracks that cut deeper than any blade, gang affiliations that added real muscle to the threats, and media outlets that fanned the flames for profit. What emerged was a toxic situation where art and violence became one and the same, where loyalty to your coast mattered more than truth, and where two young cats who once called each other brother now stood on opposite sides of an abyss that was getting wider and deadlier by the day. The lyrical warfare that defined this period transformed hip-hop forever, proving that bars could wound as deep as any weapon. While Biggie's Who Shot Ya in February 1995 had been the perceived first shot, Tupac's response would be straight nuclear. On June 4, 1996, he dropped hit "I'm Up," a scorched earth diss track produced by Johnny J. Jackson that remains to this day one of the most vicious tracks in hip-hop history. Over a sample of Redman's "Tonight's the Night" beat, Tupac unleashed fury that went way beyond typical competition. Fam, the opening bars set the tone for the destruction to follow. "I ed your wife, Biggie. You claim you're the sickest man in your crew, but when I met you, I saw through you." He named names Puffy, "Grab your Glocks when you see Tupac," Faith Evans, Biggie's wife, whom Tupac claimed he smashed, and the whole Junior and Mayfi crew. He declared, "This is my palace, West Coast style." Released as a Vibe magazine giveaway, the track moved over 1 million copies, and its video featured Tupac spitting from inside a hearse, a middle finger to the East Coast, and a dark prophecy of what was coming. The accusations in hit, "I'm Up" went beyond typical battle rap stunting. Pac claimed that Biggie had jacked his whole style, that Ready to Die was basically biting his wave. He painted Biggie as a fraud, a puppet controlled by Puffy, somebody who had betrayed their friendship for fame and paper. In interviews, Tupac would break down this theft even more, explaining how he'd put Biggie onto game about how to blow up in the industry, game that Biggie allegedly used to craft his own breakthrough sound and get on. "I used to do shows and let him come on before me doing Keep Your Head Up and Get Around, 'cause nobody knew him in New York," Pac said.
I used to do shows and let the come on before I did Keep Your Head Up and Get Around. Because nobody knew the in New York. And I used to tell it, yo, if you want to make your money, you gotta rap for the bitches. Do not rap for the I told you, don't rap for the rap for the bitches. The bitches will buy your records and niggas going with the bitches.
This goes out to those that choose to use disrespectful views on the King of New York. But Biggie, by nature more reserved than Pac's explosive personality, seemed genuinely conflicted about the escalating violence. When confronted with questions about the Tupac situation, Big struggled to explain the accusations while maintaining his innocence, expressing both frustration at the rumors and understanding of Pac's confused mental state after catching 5 shots. "The Tupac article had me pissed off, you know what I'm saying? And the rumors that's spreading are on some tip like we set him up. You know what I'm saying? And that's crazy. It's just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
The Tupac article had me pissed off, you know what I'm saying? And the rumors that's spreading is on some tip like we set them up, you know what I'm saying? And that's crazy. It's just ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? But I also understand that if you was to get shot 5 times, mind is just completely spinning, you know what I'm saying? You're real confused about your situation. So it'll cause you to say things that you really don't mean.
But then I also understand that if you was to get shot 5 times, your mind is just completely spinning. You're real confused about your situation. So it'll cause you to say things that you really don't mean. The supporting cast on both sides added fuel to the fire. Mobb Deep's Drop a Gem on M in 1996 saw Prodigy dissing Tupac's thug life image as fake, which only earned them a spot on Pac's ever-growing hit list. Each track spawned responses, and each response demanded retaliation, creating an endless cycle of lyrical violence that was rapidly spilling into the streets, where real bodies were dropping. But behind these diss tracks lurked something way more dangerous, the gang affiliations that gave real teeth to the threats. Tupac's death row connection tied him directly to the Mob Piru Bloods through Suge Knight's set. The Mob Piru set, formed in 1969 in Compton as anti-Crips vigilantes, had evolved into one of the most feared blood sets in LA. Suge Knight, who got put on in the 80s through his cousin, used Death Row Records as both a music empire and a front for gang activities. According to 1997 FBI raids that seized $10 million in assets, Tupac, while not officially jumped in as a member, became an honorary affiliate through Suge's 1995 bail payment. He repped red bandanas in the California Love video, and his Outlaws crew included Piru affiliates like Yaki Gaddafi. This wasn't just about music no more. This was about real gang politics, where disrespect could get you smoked, and where the line between artist and soldier had completely disappeared. On the flip side, Bad Boy had loose ties to various Crip sets, though not as formalized as Death Row's blood connections. The Southside Compton Crips, particularly the Kitchen Crips subset led by cats like Dwayne Kef D. Davis, would become central players in Tupac's murder. These weren't just street thugs looking for problems. These were organized criminal enterprises that had infiltrated the music industry, using rap labels as fronts for moving weight and settling territorial beefs. The 10-Day War. In August 1996, a series of gang clashes in Compton that left 10 people dead showed how the rap beef had become indistinguishable from actual street warfare. Tupac's Outlaw Immortals crew found themselves beefing with Southside Crips, and each shooting, each body ratcheted up the tension toward an inevitable explosion. Street codes demanded retaliation for every slight, and the hip-hop world spotlight only amplified the stakes to deadly levels. Meanwhile, the media played perhaps the most cynical role in escalating the violence. Fam, Vibe magazine's April 1995 Tupac cover titled Ready to Live published his Quad Studios accusations alongside graphic photos of his bullet wounds. Editor Alan Light later admitted in a 2022 podcast that it escalated paranoia in ways the magazine hadn't fully anticipated. The source's 1995 Dying to Live issue pitted coasts against each other in explicit terms, glorifying the violence while profiting from increased circulation. These weren't neutral observers documenting hip-hop culture. They were active participants creating and amplifying the narrative that would lead to 2 murders. Vibe's November 1995 East vs. West cover featured Tupac and Biggie on opposite sides, visually cementing the divide. When music critic Trav Naughty by Nature blasted the magazine in a 2017 Vlad TV interview, saying they sold death for covers, he wasn't exaggerating. The magazines knew exactly what they were doing, creating conflict sold issues. And if that conflict happened to spill real blood, well, that was just more content for the next cover story. Even well-intentioned peace efforts seemed doomed from the start. Quincy Jones hosted a secret summit in October 1995 at his Bear home, gathering over 50 hip-hop figures, including Diddy, Sub, and Dr. Dre, though notably neither Tupac nor Biggie attended to broker peace amid the rising violence. Jones lectured the assembled crowd. Y'all killing the culture, but the summit leaked to Vibe magazine, sabotaging any chance of meaningful reconciliation. Jones lamented in a 2025 Far Out interview, egos won, tragedies followed. The FBI was watching all of this unfold with keen interest. Declassified files released between 2005 and 2011 revealed that the Bureau had been monitoring both Tupac and Biggie under programs that echoed the COINTELPRO tactics used against Black Panthers in the 1960s. Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, had been a Panther, making her son a natural target. The FBI's 400-plus page file on Tupac tracked his anti-police lyrics as potential incitement while informants infiltrated death row to monitor gang activities. A 1997 file directly linked the LAPD's Rampart scandal to Officer David Mack's alleged role in Biggie's murder, suggesting law enforcement complicity in the violence rather than any serious attempt to prevent it. By summer 1996, the feud was omnipresent. Radio stations banned Hyde 'Em Up. Shows were boycotted. Death threats flowed freely. Tupac's July 1996 Vibe interview saw him vowing no truce. Biggie crossed the line. Biggie in a June 1996 The Source interview urged peace while simultaneously dropping veiled threats. The crescendo was building toward an inevitable tragic conclusion. 2 young men caught in machinery of violence that involved gang politics, corporate greed, media sensationalism, and government surveillance. All grinding toward a moment when words would finally give way to bullets and the hip-hop world would lose 2 of its brightest stars forever. Death and aftermath. The autumn of 1996 would prove that all the diss tracks, all the posturing, all the coastal rivalry was leading to an inevitable conclusion written in blood. What happened on September 7, 1996 in Las Vegas, and then again on March 9, 1997 in Los Angeles would forever change hip-hop and leave 2 generational talents dead before either reached their 26th birthday. But these weren't random acts of violence. They were the culmination of everything that had been building since that night at Quad Studios. A tragic endgame that multiple people saw coming, but no one seemed able to stop. The night of September 7, 1996, began with celebration. Tupac attended a post-fight party at the Luxor Hotel following Mike Tyson's 3rd-round knockout of Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand. Tupac, riding high on the success of All Eyes on Me, was in high spirits. But everything changed when he spotted Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a 17-year-old Southside Compton Crips member in the casino. Anderson had reportedly snatched a death row chain from a Mob Peru Bloods associate weeks earlier in Compton. And for Tupac, this disrespect demanded immediate response. Surveillance footage captured Tupac, Suge Knight, and associates ambushing Anderson in the lobby with Tupac delivering the first punch. The brawl lasted 20 to 30 seconds before security intervened. Critically, no arrests were made on site, a decision that would prove catastrophic. What Tupac didn't know was that this 20 SE second-on beating had just signed his death warrant. At 10:55 p.m., Tupac and Suge Knight were stopped at a red light at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Cava Lane in Knight's black BMW 750IL. They were heading to Club 662, a death row-affiliated nightclub, when a white Cadillac Eldorado pulled alongside them. The Cadillac, as we now know from Keffe D's 2009 confessions, was driven by him with his nephew Orlando Anderson and 2 other Southside Crips members in the vehicle. Keffe D would later describe the seemingly chance encounter that would change hip-hop history, explaining how they were simply driving around when they heard girls shouting Tupac's name and spotted him hanging out the window of the BMW like he was in a parade. We was just all in the car again. This was the white Cadillac. Yeah, so, you guys are driving around and then you hear these girls say Tupac. Tupac. No. We coming up at what's her name? Was that Flamingo? Yeah, I think that's Flamingo. He's coming up Flamingo and I got to the light. He was supposed to go a drink and smoke some weed and he happened to be hanging out the window. He's hanging out the window like he was in parade. Tupac. Yeah, he was. What happened next lasted only seconds, but would reverberate through hip-hop history forever. For shots from a .40 caliber Glock struck Tupac twice in the chest, once in the right hand, and once in the pelvis. Knight sustained a superficial head graze from shrapnel. Tupac, semi-conscious and gasping, mumbled, "You got to watch out for me," to paramedics as he was rushed to University Medical Center. In later testimony, Keffe D would describe the moments leading up to the shooting, explaining how as they pulled up alongside the BMW at the light, Tupac appeared to reach for something beneath his seat, prompting someone in the Cadillac's back seat to open fire. Well, in the book, you said that as you're driving up towards the BMW with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat, and you said that Tupac pulled out a gun. It looked like he was reaching. Yeah, it did. Okay, yeah. Did you actually see a gun? No, __. Once you got the region, I got the dunking. So, someone from your car, that's what happened. Started shooting at Tupac and Shook. For 6 days, Tupac fought for his life. He underwent multiple surgeries, including a thoracotomy to repair lung damage. His mother, Afeni, along with the Outlaws crew, maintained a vigil outside his room while media swarmed the hospital. But on September 13, 1996, at 4:03 p.m., Tupac Shakur succumbed to respiratory failure and cardiopulmonary arrest from massive internal bleeding. He was 25 years old. An estimated 2,000 mourners gathered outside the hospital and his body was cremated in a private Grand Rapid ceremony to prevent grave robbing. The hip-hop world reeled. Vigils were held across the country. Radio stations played his music in tribute. But beneath the mourning, a more sinister calculation was taking place. If Tupac's murder was retaliation for the MGM Grand beating, then by the ruthless logic of gang warfare and coastal rivalry, Bad Boy would need to answer for it. 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, Christopher Wallace was in Los Angeles promoting life after death at a Vibe magazine party held at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Despite warnings from his security team about threats against Bad Boy artists in California, Biggie attended the party surrounded by junior M5 members and Bad Boy security. But as Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, would later reveal, the warnings were far more specific and far more urgent than anyone publicly acknowledged. Deal had received explicit intelligence from street sources that people were coming to kill them that night. But when he approached Diddy with this critical information, the response he received would haunt him for years. "Theo Puff, I got some intel, bro." He said, "What's up, Gene?" I said, "I got some intel that people going to come and try to kill us." He said, "Gene, I don't want to hear that, __. I don't want to hear that, Gene." I said, "You don't want to hear that, __. F, what you mean you don't want to hear that shit?" Yo, Gene, you ain't got to go if you don't want to go. At 12:45 a.m., as Biggie's convoy prepared to leave the Peterson Museum, a black Chevy Impala SS pulled alongside his GMC Suburban at the intersection of Wilshire and Fairfax. 9 shots rang out from a black SKS 7.62mm semi-automatic rifle. 4 bullets struck Biggie in the chest and thigh, penetrating through the passenger door. The Impala fled east as Biggie's driver crashed into a parked Toyota 50 yards down the street. Biggie was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, arriving at 1:15 a.m. Despite 2 emergency surgeries for internal bleeding, he died at 1:15 a.m. from hypovolemic shock, massive blood loss that his body simply couldn't recover from. Christopher Wallace was 24 years old, killed just 16 days before Life After Death would debut at #1 on the Billboard charts, eventually selling over 11 million copies. In what would become his final interview conducted just weeks before his death, Biggie had reflected on the power he and Tupac wielded and his determination to use that influence to end the violence. Recognizing that with Tupac gone, the responsibility to make peace fell solely on his shoulders. I kind of realized how powerful Tupac and I was. You know what I'm saying? Because we 2 individual people, we waged a coastal beef. You know what I'm saying? 1 man against 1 man made a whole West Coast hate a whole East Coast and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And that really bugged me out. Like, yo, Duke don't like me, so this whole coach don't like me. You know what I'm saying? First-degree murder in connection with Tupac's killing, the first arrest in the case in 27 years. Davis, whose 2009 confessions to Las Vegas police and federal agents detailed his role as the driver who supplied the gun to his nephew Orlando Anderson, now faces trial scheduled for 2026 after multiple delays. The Biggie case remains colder, though parallel investigations have uncovered disturbing connections. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.